Hello and welcome to this video in the Python tutorial video series. In this video, we're going to learn about variables in Python, different data types that are up there, and how to use them. So first, it's important to know what variables are. So variables is allocation in the memory to store data. So you can store data uh, in that variable and use it whenever you want it. Just you can refer it by the name of the variable. And in Python, we have different types of variables, and we will be covering in this video, we will be covering basics or the primitive data types. So let's start. For example, let's initiate a student name. And here we have, let's call it, I don't know, Alex, for example. So this is the variable name is student name, and the variable will be our student name will be uh, like referring the name of our student, and it is a string. And to make a string in Python, we can enclose it with either one apostrophe, or you can use double apostrophe. Okay, so and we this is a string variable. We can also have other types. So for example, student ID, and let's be like 2018-05, for example, and student GPA, for example, and it can be 3.5. So here we have a whole number. This is a an integer number. Okay, so we have two main types of numbers. We have integer or whole numbers, and we have floating point numbers, which have points in them and partial decimal. So far we initialize variables. So we create variables and put data in them. Now, what if I want to change the data in that variable? Well, you can just use an assignment. So you can let's say I want to change the ID of the student. So I just 2019-05, for example. I just use an assignment, and so if I want to print here student ID and print here student ID, I can run the code, and you see it's changed. So we covered here three main data types: the string, we covered integers, and floating points. Now we still have one major or one primitive data type, which is Boolean. So let me type here. So is, uh, is available, for example. And this Boolean can have two and only two values, either true or false, either 1 or 0. And it should be, look, Python is case sensitive, so it should be that way in the capitalized form. So the first letter is capital and the others are small. So if I type true, it will give an error. If I have it all capital, it will give an error also. So you can only type it that way. And PyCharm help you recognize if that's true or not. So by changing the color of it, true or false. So these are the major data types. We have other data types, but we'll be covering them later on because they are more advanced. So now I'm gonna talk about the naming of the variables. So as you can see here, we have some rules in naming the variables. First, we can't name a variable with reserved words. So in Python, we have some words that are reserved for Python use only. So for example, is a reserved word, um, else, for example, and many other. You will be uh, getting familiar with those by practice. Regarding the name of the variables, you should, I advise you to use always descriptive names. So for example, here I'm referring to the name of the student, so I type student name. Now variables can't have spaces in them. So I usually use underscore, which is like very, very make the name of the variable very descriptive and very beautiful. And you can also have this form, student name also. But personally, I like this more. Student name, student ID, and student GPA, very descriptive. Also, well, you can use like non-descriptive variables. Python will not give you an error, but uh, later on when you create or when you write very big codes with thousands of lines of code, there will be, and other programmers will come and improve your code. They will find it very difficult to like debug or change a few codes or few line of codes with variables like a equal to 3. I mean, or c1 equal to 5. I mean, what's c1 or where's c2 and what's the difference between c1 and c2? So I advise you to use always descriptive names. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you find it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next video.